Town of Adams Board of Selectmen's meeting is now in session, Wednesday, November 17th, 2021. Could everyone please stand and join the select board in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. First item on the agenda this evening is approval of minutes. We have two sets. Everyone on the board can vote. October 27th, 2021, and November 3rd, 2021. Are these both regular board meetings?
One's a workshop.
Right, so the 27th is a workshop and the 3rd is a regular board of selectmen's meeting. What is the board's pleasure?
I'll make a motion, the board waive a reading of the minutes and approve them as provided for October 27th and November 3rd of 2021.
I second it. Motion by Rick, second by Howard. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, none, unanimous decision. Public comment. Is anyone in the audience who would like to address the Board of Selectmen with anything that is not on this evening's agenda?
Is there anyone in the
And
audience?
there is no one in the audience, so I assume that is a no. New business. The first item is a facility use request. The Town Common, Adams Holidays, Sunday, November 28th, 2021, from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. And we do have a letter here. Here it is, from the Adams Community Bank.
Excuse me.
And I'll read that. Board of Selectmen, the Adams Community Bank will be sponsoring the Adams Holidays tree lighting this year. The date is Sunday, November 28th, at the Town Common in Adams. This event will be from 2 o'clock, just 1 o'clock on the agenda. Will be-
Set up time.
Set up time, thank you. 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock, with hay rides, Christmas carols, coffee, cocoa, and donuts. Santa will arrive around 3 p.m. to greet the children using a safe distance. Santa will also light the tree at 5 p.m. to close the evening. We are asking for permission to use the Town Common and someone from the DPW for assistance in lighting the tree. We have also reached out to the forest wardens for assistance with the traffic and safety of the public and the Chief of Police, Chief Kelly. Please contact me with any questions. Andrea Stump, who works at the Adams Community Bank, has provided us with this letter. I know last year we had a different type ceremony. 2 years ago, the Adams Community Bank did step up when our committee that was performing, supporting all of the activities, the majority of the activities we were having, disbanded, and they've come back, many of them, fortunately. But they stepped up, the Adams Community Bank, to take on this holiday celebration, which is well received in our community. So very excited that after 1 year off, that they're back. They're all volunteers, and everyone has a great time. So what is the board's pleasure? First, Jay, anything like that?
No, just I'd like to thank Andrew and Adams Community Bank for taking it on this year. They just kind of came out and said, we've got it this year. They've been in touch with DPW. I was also contacted by Adams Hose. I know that they also want to do something with the Public Safety Vehicle Parade, doing the Polish Smile like they did last year. So I think we'll have a great day, and staff endorses the request.
Right. Any comments from the board?
Yeah, this is really good news. There really is a Santa. If Adams Community Bank believes there's a Santa, there must be a Santa, okay?
Okay, that's in the record.
Yes, Virginia.
Anyone else?
This is good enough for me.
Make a motion, the board approve the facility use request for Town Common for the Adams Community Bank on Sunday, November 28th, 2021, from the hours of 1 to 6 p.m. for the Holidays event.
Okay, we have a motion by Rick. Do we have a second?
I second it.
Second by Howard. Any further discussion?
Jewish guy.
Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Howard, you're in favor?
Yeah, aye.
Any opposed? Opposed?
Aye.
None. Unanimous decision. Thank you. Just in time, next is Forest Legacy Program Support Letter. Joe, I'll hand it over to you.
Okay, first of all, I apologize for being a little bit late. Time got ahead of me. Well, first, I'd like, if the chairman will indulge me to do so, I'd like to explain to the people the Forest Legacy Program and what it encompasses. And I'm going to read, it makes it easier for people to understand. So I'm going to read a small portion of the Forest Legacy Program and what it encompasses. So here I go. The Forest Legacy Program was established in 1990 to provide grant funding for the conservation of privately owned, environmentally important forest land in the United States that is threatened by conversion to development. This voluntary program is a partnership between the U.S. Forest Service and participating states and territories. The Massachusetts Forest Legacy Program is managed by the Department of Conservation and Recreation and has been awarded over 25 project grants, which resulted in the protection of over 17,500 acres of forest. Landowners who wish to protect their land have two options within the program. A landowner may sell the property outright, or if the landowner wishes to retain ownership, the land can be protected in perpetuity with a conservation restriction or watershed preservation restriction. In either case, by or donated to the Commonwealth through DCR or Department of Fish and Game, or a municipal government organization such as a Conservation Commission. DCR actively works with the land conservation community to identify potential conservation opportunities. Project applications are solicited from the community each year and compete nationally for grant funding in Massachusetts. There are four main criteria for land to be considered for the program grant funding, and I'll just read quickly the four main criteria. First, be threatened by present or future conversion to non-forest uses. Two, contain one or more of the following important values: scenic resources, public recreational opportunities, riparian hydrological areas, fish and wildlife habitat, known threatened and endangered species, known culture, historical areas, other ecological values. Three, provide opportunities for the continuation of traditional forest uses. And four, reflect important regional values. So there's a little bit more to be read, but this is basically something that it's done by landowner and public entities to try to keep land that is forested in its natural state. So I think personally, because of what our country is facing as far as climate change, that this is a good opportunity for us to get involved and to do the small part which will help climate change. In short, also, I'd like to say that with the CO2 emissions being the main culprit for climate change, our forests allow for what is called a carbon sink, which means that CO2, which is emitted into the atmosphere, which is the main pollutant, is taken in by trees and into the forest and the forest floor. So in short, I think I want to do what I can for our port to protect our environment, and I think we all need together to do so. So I was putting forth a letter. Mr. Chairman, if you'd like to read the letter,
Sure.
and to see if our fellow selectmen would be interested in joining the Forest Legacy Program.
Okay, and Joe did prepare this. I appreciate that.
And Deb Dunlap was very helpful.
Thank you, Deb. Okay, dear Ms. Nystrom, the Town of Adams Board of Selectmen wishes to express its full support of the expansion of the Forest Legacy Areas designation into the Mohawk Trail Woodland Partnership Program. Adams, an area of 23 square miles, lies along a valley surrounding the Hoosic River and between the Taconic Mountain Range to the west and the Hoosic Mountain Range to the east. 81% of which comprises the agricultural, deciduous, and evergreen forests, emergent and forested wetlands, and pasture hay areas of the town. These areas include woodlands, state-owned forested areas, and natural wildlife habitats in various biological topography. Some of these areas are privately owned and managed. The Town of Adams has partnered with 20 other towns in the Mohawk Trail Woodland Partnership in an area of the state that highly values its natural resources and biological diverse ecosystem. This particular area supports a wide variety of tree species, which in turn provides habitats for a larger diversity of both plants and wildlife alike. An important factor when facing the rapidly changing climate and its, at times, drastic impact on these species in the evolving landscape. Conserving this biodiversity requires conscious and vital action, including the expansion of the Forest Legacy designation. Doing so will emphasize the importance of retention and bolster the eco-dynamics of the Adams and other Berkshire County areas in order to conserve the wide variety of woodland species, plants, animals, and natural systems. In turn, this will protect the natural treasure and support private landowners with possibilities and alternatives to help preserve the forested lands that are already here. It is our hope that the program expansion will take place to include this area and to conserve and preserve our natural resources. Very, very truly yours, the Adams Board of Selectmen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome, and thank you. Is there anything else you'd like to add about the letter, or?
Well, I'm hopeful that our board will endorse it and we can become involved with it. There's funding to be had also, and it's nothing of a land grab. It's make sure that this would-be seller and the development rights are worked out together. So once again, it's nothing that there's any force behind by either recreation and conservation or fish and game to take people's lands.
Okay. Any questions for Joe? Yes, Howard?
I just have a comment, Joe. I would just like to have a paragraph added to include just what you said, because when people say, well, this, I understand it, but what's actually happening with the finances? What's the transfer process?
Yeah.
So I think if that paragraph is added, so the landowners can see what they're signing up for, or what the selectman is actually committing to.
Okay, I'm amendable to that, and perhaps what I could do is to read exactly what you're alluding to. It's entitled Important Facts About the Forest Legacy Program. The Forest Legacy Program is based on a willing seller, willing buyer approach.
Okay.
The Forest Service, or DCR, will never force a landowner to participate in the program. Conversations for a CR, which is a conservation restriction, or the purchase of land is determined by an appraisal by a qualified independent appraiser. The value of a conservation restriction is the difference between the appraised value of the land with the development potential and with the development potential removed. So there, once again, it is for a willing buyer and a willing buyer's approach to it. So it's nothing that anyone's going to come upon you and ask you. You have to come forth.
Right. It'd be
as
very
the-
good to be part of this letter.
I agree, if
That's
you'd
all.
like that, yep.
Very good.
Yep.
Thank you.
Just a question, wouldn't this Lindsay Nystrom of the DCR Bureau of Forest Fire and Control and Forestry already know that? Or is she not familiar with this?
Well, she came in front of us
Right.
and gave a PowerPoint presentation.
Right.
So I thought that that was made clear by Hora when she came in front of us. And I waited a while to bring it forward because I thought about it, and, you know, with the times we're facing, I feel personally that anything we can do to help solve a problem which seems to have no concrete end to it, I just thought that anything we can do would be a plus for the environment.
Okay, so this is a letter in support.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
And it can be amended to include what
If we
Howard,
ever change the terms, like, you know, forcing certain, well, whatever, we can point to, well, this is what we supported, we didn't support that.
That's understandable. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so, Howard, would you like to make a motion? Which will include,
I make a motion that we endorse this letter provided, with the addition that we discussed, to discuss the particulars of the terms of the transfer. of
okay.
land.
All right, we have a motion by Howard. Do we have a second?
I will second it with, but I would like to hold sending the letter until the amendment put forth by Howard is added to the context of the letter.
Okay. All right, so then we'll sign after we receive that completed letter.
That's correct, so I'll second that.
All right, so Joe second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, none, unanimous. Joe, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
All right, back to new business, annual parking enforcement suspension for holiday season. And I know this has been happening for many years in our community, from the time of Black Friday through the end of the year, through January 1st, that the town of Adams offers free parking where parking meters are located. And I'll hand it over to Town Administrator Jay Green, who can provide us with how we're going to do it this year. I know we've covered them in the past, but if we could have a few details on what this year's plan is.
So in past years, so the process is the same as always, which is we just instruct the police department not to enforce controlled parking in those areas. It'll give the parking control officer a little bit of a break. However, for my last 2 years, we've taken some feedback from member Novak regarding the use of the plastic bags that we use to cover the meters that say season's greetings or happy holidays, something to that effect. This year, we're going to attempt burlap bags. And I can tell you that grounds foreman Scrocky wanted to do something to jazz those up, make them a little bit more holiday themed. So he was attempting to put red bows on each meter as well with the burlap bags. He doesn't think he has enough, but he's going to paint them red. So you're going to see at some point painted red burlap bags on our parking meters, and that will indicate when we go into effect on the day after Thanksgiving that you don't have to put that quarter in that parking meter. So, however, just as a reminder for everybody, separate of this, the overnight winter parking ban is still in effect, effective December the 1st through, what did we say, Mr. Chairman? Was it March 31st, I believe?
That's correct.
Yeah, so just two separate issues, but as we talk about parking, opportunity for a reminder.
All right, so Thanksgiving this year is on the 25th, so this will go into effect on Friday, November 26th, and will run through January 2nd, which is a Sunday, so January 3rd will be the day that
Yes.
this program ends, and the burlap bags will be removed. Okay?
Got it?
All right. Okay, any discussion or emotion on that? Yeah, Rick?
Just a, Black Friday it goes into effect? Why not 1 day sooner? I mean, I doubt the parking enforcement officer is gonna be out there Thanksgiving Day.
I can
taking
tell
it.
you she will not be.
But I'd say go for the 25th.
Or you can do it next week, effective Monday, Tuesday next week. It's up to you, folks.
No, I'm just thinking to include the Thanksgiving holiday,
Okay.
instead of missing it by 1 day.
Mr. Chairman, that
Yeah.
sounds reasonable.
Okay. All right, so do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion that the board suspend parking meter collection from November 25th through January 3rd.
Okay, we have a motion by Rick. Do we have a second?
I second it.
Second by Howard. Any further discussion?
Yes, I would just like to say, Mr. Chairman, as Administrator Green mentioned, last year I brought that up because our town has a ban on plastic, and I just thought it didn't seem right for us to be using plastic covers when we're banning plastic bags.
You make a good point, because that was the first thing that came to my mind. We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Only to please shop local. I'm sure you hear that all the time, but it really does make a difference for local business owners to shop, as much as you can.
Yes.
Okay, that's it for discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, none, unanimous. All right. Next, we have department reports. The town administrator, Jay Green.
Thank you. So I have a report tonight for members of the public as well as the board on the incident that we were addressing today regarding specialty minerals, the plant. I apologize for the fact that I'm reading it, but frankly, it's the only way to ensure that we get the proper information out. At my request this morning, the Northern Berkshire Regional Emergency Planning Committee, along with several other planning and response representatives from the town of Adams, city of North Adams, and the Massachusetts Emergency Management Agency, reported to Adams Town Hall in response to the change in color of the Hoosick River. This was first reported to us last evening. The following is what we know at this time, and we wish to thank the many individuals that brought this event to our attention. On November the 16th, the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection received notification of a release that had occurred to the Hoosick River in Adams, and that the river was turning white downstream. This was directly reported by staff at Specialty Minerals as part of their response plan. Mass DEP responded to the scene and confirmed that the source was coming from the outfall at Specialty Minerals. Outfall is their discharge location where their treatment water re-enters the Hoosick River. It is reported that Specialty Minerals stated that they had a process upset, and immediately upon being discovered that, they shut down their operation until their settling ponds have cleared and treatment could meet their permit limits. Mass DEP reported that the white color is likely sediment and solids associated with the manufacturing of precipitated calcium carbonate being discharged in SMI's effluent. They also report that collected samples were analyzed for pH and turbulence solids, and indicated that there is no harm to humans and that the release is not toxic and is inert. It should also be added that calcium carbonate is a common mineral, and it's oftentimes consumed by humans and animals. The calcium carbonate that comes out of this plant is high grade, food and medicine grade, and for example is used often in antacids. Tums, correct. Mass Department of Environmental Protection tracked the white discoloration to the Vermont state line before dark last night and returned to the river early this morning. DEP has kept the town of Adams informed all the way through since they first received notification. They continue to make observations in conjunction with Mass Fish and Wildlife and the National Heritage and Endangered Species Program to assess any potential impact to the habitat ecosystem, including looking for any potential fish kills. Now, we just want to add here that the pH and the solids, the water chemistry, have been monitored all day long and is well within tolerance, and there's no risk to the ecosystem from what we're told. Mass DEP ordered Specialty Minerals not to operate until it can assure that it will meet its discharge permit requirements and to provide a detailed incident report to Mass DEP, which I'm sure the town will receive a copy of. Mass DEP stated that they notified authorities in Adams, North Adams, Williamstown, Vermont, New York, and the Berkshire Environmental Action Team. Incidents of this type are taken very seriously, and a quick response from Mass DEP allowed for the collection of water samples to determine any toxic concerns or hazards to humans. As the Hoosic passes through Adams into North Adams, Williamstown, and through Vermont and New York, eventually meeting with the Hudson, sampling will continue, and agencies will continue to work collaboratively with Specialty Minerals to resolve the issue and provide any updates regarding environmental impact. As of this afternoon, myself, Chairman Amalio Giacino of the Regional Emergency Planning Committee, met with their Director of Environmental Health and Safety and received an update about the initial response and ongoing operations. As a result, we are satisfied that the response from Specialty Minerals and DEP's response, and they are working together in close coordination to ensure the protection of our natural environment. The Town of Adams and the Northern Berkshire Regional Emergency Planning Committee, along with our Northern Berkshire Regional Collaborative Team and fellow communities, will continue to monitor this situation, provide updates, and support Specialty Minerals during this time. So that's where we are as of tonight. We were lucky. There was no significant impact at all. It was milky white, but the plant did respond accordingly, and we're satisfied that they're doing what they can. DEP will probably be on site for the next few days. And as of late this afternoon, the effluent was restored to clear. So that means their treatment process is operating as normal. That's what I have on that incident. And I'd like to thank, so many people this morning showed up here. Chairman Duval was here. Dr. Rhodes from the Board of Health was here. Not only our paid staff, but some of our stipend folks, such as Chief Kleiner. Mayor Tom Bernard appeared here. His staff, his Board of Health Chair, Chief John Meany, was here, and we had a really productive conversation. Bob Berry, from our representative from MEMA, drove all the way up here, and we had a really good conversation. And I'd like to thank the plant manager, Steve Thompson. He was out in California at the time, and even though it was 6:30 his time, he could immediately handled a conference call with us. So I'd like to thank Specialty Minerals, DEP, Brian Harrington from DEP, fantastic communication. And did we learn from the incident? Can we do things better? Of course, we always can, but I think it's important for us to assure the public tonight that the incident was not a threat and is under control.
And just to add to that, you indicate that it's not a threat, it's under control, but you could see this morning that when something like this happens, that you have a full room of emergency safety groups from not only Adams, but North Adams. You have leadership of both communities, everybody working together in one room to make sure we come up with a solution. Because when I was on my way here, I had no idea what specifically had spilled into the river. And so I came here to determine that, if it was toxic or not. I had no idea. But as soon as you get here, you get the information, and the DEP provides information, you get facts, and then we all come to a conclusion that it was not harmful, and it dissipated eventually. But just to have the group of people I saw and worked with this morning makes me feel good about our collaborations with our fellow communities and with our emergency safety group here in the town of Adams. It was a great collaboration. Everybody you could think of was here. And that will happen when anything happens again. That's going to every time. And you guys meet often on this, so I appreciate everyone, like you have indicated, that showed up this morning. Any questions for Jay on the Specialty Minerals leak into the Hoosic River?
Yeah,
Joe?
did they find a cause?
They're still reviewing it. It could be mechanical, for all they know. Some part could have failed. It could be a variety of issues, but whatever it was, they stopped it.
Okay, and because if they were able to trace it, you mentioned through Williamstown, so you could see the white coloring all the way to Williamstown?
It's my understanding, yes.
Yeah, so, well, that's kind of certainly I'm glad that it was non-toxic. That certainly would have been very detrimental to the ecosystem of the Hoosic River, because there are some endangered fish along that stretch. And do you know if Specialty Minerals is going to be fined for this?
So as of late this afternoon, DEP issued their order. I'm not sure what action DEP will take beyond that, but DEP is working with them, and they are under order right now to cease operations until they can ensure that their treatment process is within their permit limits.
And once again, I'd like to thank you and John for being here, because that shows that, as John mentioned, that when something like this occurs, people come together. So thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. And just a request that when the DEP completes their investigation, that you provide the board with the results.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Okay. Anything else?
One more thing, at the request of our town clerk, Haley Meswar, in switching gears here, this is a far more positive announcement, a gentle reminder that the Adams Holiday Home Decorating Contest is coming back this year, hosted by our Adams Events Planning Committee. As a reminder for everyone, the entry application period opens Monday, November the 22nd, and is through Friday, December the 3rd. The judging period is Friday, December the 10th through Saturday, December 11th. The winners will be announced Wednesday, December the 15th of this year. If you have any questions, you can call Town Hall at 743-8300, use extension 176 or 177, and applications will eventually be online on the town webpage as well, starting on Monday, November the 22nd. As a reminder, again, participation is open to all residents within town borders. There's no entry is free, there's no cost. Applications have to be received no later than 5 p.m. on Friday, December the 3rd, and the community itself will be the judge. There'll be a map that will be created. All participants will be posted online Wednesday, December the 8th. The community is going to be encouraged to drive around, get some hot chocolate, and view all the entries and cast a vote on an online app. Contest is for exterior decorations only, including decorations and windows that are visible from the exterior. Judging will be done from outside the residence only and from the street. Community members should not enter people's property to view their back or side yards. Judging is going to be done on Friday, December the 10th from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. and on Saturday, December the 11th. The online app will be open from December the 10th through the 11th for community members to cast their votes. Please ensure that all of your lights, your animations, and decorations are in place and activated for the judging periods on both nights. Why would people want to do this? 3 prizes. First prize, a $75 gift card to the Adams Hometown Market. Second prize, a $50 gift card to the Adams Hometown Market. And one third prize, $25 gift card to Adams Hometown Market. Winners are going to be contacted by telephone and announced through a press release. And as Haley says in her announcement here, please be creative, be festive, have fun, and be safe. I know we had received a lot of positive feedback about the event last year. I'd like to thank Haley and Kelly and the other folks on the Adams Events Planning Committee to do this. It's fun to really drive around. You get into, Adams has some really beautiful neighborhoods that, unless you have a purpose to be in there, you really have, you don't drive through there. This is a great way to see the beauty of the town at a really nice time. So, nice reminder, and hope everyone can participate in that. Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report for this evening.
Okay, thank you, Jay. Any questions for town administrator? Okay.
Yeah, I have just a couple.
Sure.
Besides thanking the committee, I'd like to thank Adams Hometown Market for stepping forward. They've been a good neighbor since they've come to the community. Three quick things. I've noticed down near the old mill on Hoosick Street, there's been some construction work in the back of it, and I'm not aware of what's going on there.
I believe it is precursor to a demolition of what used to be the old weave shed that's along the length of number 7 Mill.
Yeah, I had noticed it, but I haven't been able to get down there.
They are
That's what
working
I
on that
thought.
project.
Yeah, okay.
A lot of it's been behind the scenes, but that's the most visible that you've seen to date.
And once again, could you update the people watching what you're alluding to, the project?
So 5 Hoosick and 7 Hoosick, which are the last 2 vacant Berkshire spinning mills, development team owns those, and their plan is to build approximately 100 to 120 housing units in those 2 buildings. 5 Hoosick, which is right on Hoosick Street, across from the train station, next to the visitor center, is proposed to be market rate housing on floors 2 and 3, mixed use on floor 1, and the large building is still yet to be fully developed, but we anticipate that will likely be a 40R project where a mix of market rate and affordable units, but that's yet to be fully determined.
Okay, thank you, and once again, I believe that this isn't something that's gonna happen immediately, but it's on the horizon.
It's not happening fast enough, but
Yeah.
at least something's happening.
And two other things, I know that you probably won't be able to answer these right now, but how did our property tax returns come in this year? And the other question is, how are we doing financially now that we have someone checking our parking meters? And those, I'm sure maybe you cannot answer those specifically.
I
but
can
I'd be
answer the
interested.
parking meter question, I cannot answer the first one, I'll have to ask the collector to see how he did, but she hasn't verbalized any discontent, which is usually a good sign. You know, parking meters, that's always an interesting topic. I know that former Selectman Summer has asked a few times, so I finally was able to get an answer on that. On average right now, and it is changing because we, as you may recall, parking enforcement really went back into play when we made the animal control officer 50% parking control. That finally happened, that had been budgeted prior to me as town administrator. We were able to execute it late 2019. She started in January of 2020, and then lo and behold, COVID-19 hit. On average, I would say on a monthly basis, it's anywhere from $300 to $500. But don't hold me to that just yet, but that was a quick glance the other day. Are we going to be able to buy a $60-something thousand vehicle with it? No, not right away. But as we've said before, we do have another lot at the visitor center, which is very busy. That could be some revenue generating for us. And as you know, we've had some parking conversations at this board recently. I think parking will be a topic that we're going to continue to end up talking about and go from there.
Okay, because I'd just like to say I see Kim Whittick, who is the parking meter and animal control officer out there quite often.
She is.
Thank her for doing that.
Yep, she is, and we're starting to transition some of the DPW duties where they used to have to clear the parking meter. They've trained her on that now, so she's actually able to change out batteries and do some of the maintenance on there, so the meter is up and running. She's certainly doing her job. We've seen an influx in parking ticket appeals, so we know that she's out there, for it. There's pros and cons to it, but until the board changes the policy, it's in place, and yes, we are making some money.
Okay, that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you. Just a couple words in regards to, with the middle school, the board approving a developer to develop several apartments there. Park Street, there's work ongoing with many apartments. And also, you just mentioned this evening, 100-plus apartments. We're working as the Board of Selectmen with the town administrator for Hoosick Building number 7, which is the large building, and also Building 5, which would also include housing and also hopefully a restaurant, retail. I received a question recently, why? Why are you building all these new apartments in Adams? And it's been the same reason for a couple of years now, several years really, is that there are a lot of businesses, organizations, higher level education that have new employees coming to this area, including Pittsfield. And also people can work from home, which is a change which has come out of the pandemic, is a lot of people now can work from home, so they can work anywhere. So Adams, to me, post the mills and post Arnold Print Works and so on, has been a bedroom community. The majority of people in our community has worked in Pittsfield, the GE, or at Sprague's. Thousands of employees over the years worked at these large manufacturing plants. So we were a veteran community, and it's just because it was a great place to raise a family, it's a great place to live, quality of life. Adams is where you want to be. But the problem that we have is that the housing stock in Adams, and I've said it many times, is older, and as it is in other communities, and needs to be, we need to provide new housing. And it's not to, you know, I gotta be careful what I say, is that we are building these apartments to attract, and there is a need to individuals who are, for example, an engineer where I work, a police officer, a teacher, you know, so employees that are working in neighboring communities, including Adams, that are looking for a nice apartment, not a run-down place on a side street. They're looking for a nice apartment close to the downtown, which, you know, they want to be part of. That's what they're looking for, and that's the clientele we're looking for, and it's there. And Pittsfield knows it, and North Adams knows it, and all the communities know it. So they're all working to upgrade out their apartments in their communities. And they're working out just as hard as we are. So there's a need, and that's the clientele we are reaching out to, and there are many, many people looking for a place to live. There's also, the last thing I'll say about it is a transition from a homeowner in Adams who comes to a point where they want to sell their home because it's just, they want to downsize, it's just time to move on to an apartment, so they don't have to take care of their lawns or their homes any longer. This is the natural move, so they're transitioning down to an apartment. We also have many, many young people in our community who can't afford a home right now, which is throughout the county and the state and the country right now. So there's another transition where brand new apartments for young individuals, for young couples, where like the old days, we used to live in an apartment after you got married, and then you went on to purchase a home. But that's kind of been stopped because of the housing market right now. So there's also a clientele right there that's looking for transitioning, which is, and the mill building over here is full and has a waiting list, so where do you go? So we're kind of stuck. And so that's the reason, in my opinion, is we are looking to build brand new, affordable, we mean affordable, it's a teacher, it's a firefighter, it's from other communities, right? Or from Adams, or somebody works for the town government, or works for the school system, or works for a business out of Pittsfield, or wherever it may be. That's who we are going after to attract. And that's the goal of this board and the town administrator. So when you hear the oh my gosh, you know, who's going to be coming to Adams and all these apartments, these are going to be very nice apartments, and they're going to be at a moderate price for those that, you know, that have decent jobs, and that's what we're looking to bring to Adams. And that's going to, unless you have that, that's going to help create our downtown. You need to have a population downtown. When these apartments are all done and down Park Street, you'll see a difference, and entrepreneurs will see, hey, I can make some money out of this. They're going to begin to open up shops, and so there is an end goal to all this. So when you see that we continue to talk about housing, that's why we are talking about housing, okay? So because there is a need and there's a clientele we want to live here in Adams. So that's why we're doing this. So don't listen to the rumors and, oh my gosh, who's coming to Adams now? No, it's good people, good jobs, and there is a lot of people looking for that. And again, those retirees going one way and our young people going the other way to get a home. So we want that to work for people too. So I just had to say that because I get a little frustrated sometimes. But I'm asked that question over and over again, why? We're moving forward in this community. Okay, okay, next, sorry, is there any Ed St. John?
I wanted to, we haven't done the subcommittee reports yet?
Right, so Attorney Ed St. John for Town Council first, right?
That's right, okay.
Okay. I provided additional information to Clerk John Harrington of the Land Court 2 weeks ago regarding the MJD matter, and attached is information provided to the court. Last week, he followed up with a request for an affidavit from our collector of taxes, and she will provide me with that signed affidavit shortly. I've examined the bylaws and minutes of the Adams Arts Advisory Board regarding their partnership with the town to develop a cultural district. I will discuss my findings with the town administrator next week. I responded to a request from a citizen regarding the timeliness of the minutes prepared for the Board of Selectmen meetings. I participated in discussions with staff regarding the designation of a health agent by the Board of Health. Mr. Ransford, attorney, and I have finalized details on the closing for the 26 Commercial Street property. The closing will take place on November 24th. I commented on questions related to licensing issues raised by the licensing subcommittee. And I reviewed and commented on the proposed emergency COVID order, which was considered by the Board of Health at today's meeting, which I attended. Specifically, I expressed my concerns that the order could only punish violations of mandatory prohibitions and not those which only encourage certain conduct. And lastly, I want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving.
Oh, thank you, Ed.
Thank you, Ed. Any questions for Attorney St. John?
I just have a comment. I'm happy to see that the closing for the Commercial Street plot is going to be taking place in the very near future. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, thank you. All right, next, Howard, we have the subcommittee liaison reports. Howard?
Okay, I'm on the liaison with the Board of Health, and I had the pleasure of attending the public meeting this morning, this afternoon, rather. And one of my comments is, and it's going to lead to a recommendation that we hold a workshop to be proactive about how we handle the COVID situation. There was a lot of discontent about there has been an uptick in COVID cases, and the Department of Health issued an emergency order on Monday, which the business community reacted very, very negatively because it was thrust upon them without adequate public relations, explanations, what have you. And it became very clear today in the meeting where the Board of Health did a very good job articulating how COVID spreads and why the order was necessary. And why I'm saying this is because the town is constantly, we're caught on our heels and reacting because COVID's going to be here for a while. And the way it's been handled up until now, when there's an uptick, the Department of Health issues an order, and the business community gets upset, and we go through this cycle. And I've seen it, it's been going on now for a year or so. So what I want to propose is that we have a workshop, that we come up with a proactive community relations initiative to explain to the community what's going on and work with the Board of Health, have the Board of Health included, so that the public, the business community in particular, is not blindsided, and they're on our side. We don't have an adversarial relationship, because when the Board of Health explained what was behind the emergency order and how COVID is spread and how we want to how we're going to deal with it and how we're going to do tracking, it was well received. And what it was clear to me is that there's a lack of communication about what how the town is trying to deal with the COVID COVID situation. So I just want to open this up to say, I just want to suggest that the Select Committee have a process where we come up with a proactive program to communicate in advance how the town is getting in front of the COVID crisis, not behind it, because we're constantly reacting. And there's a letter written by of one of the most respected businesses in town, Adams Plumbing, which did not reflect well on the town because of how they received the order. So I don't want to point fingers here, I just want to improve the process of how we deal with it, and I suggest we have a workshop so that we get out of this reactive mode and get ahead of the curve.
So just to remind you and the public that the Board of Health is their own separate entity of the town of Adams.
Absolutely.
They are elected by you, the voter. So they have their own agenda, and they are governed by Massachusetts state law. We are a totally separate board. We are responsible for our board. We communicate in various ways. So we take care of the Board of Selectmen. The Board of Health has a chair. They have 2 members, and they are elected. They are their own board. All 4 working together with other boards to communicate to the public, but we need to work together. But again, it is the chair of the Board of Health, the Board of Health itself, that is in front of the COVID pandemic. So they need to work on improving the way they communicate to the public. The meeting, I'm glad it went well,
Yeah,
but they need to work on their communications, and you've mentioned that yourself. If there's ways that the town administrator and the board of selectmen can help, all for it. But having a workshop on how we can help them, I'd rather the Board of Health, if they need help, to reach out to Jay and to reach out to yourself as liaison and request a meeting or whatever we may do to help them in bettering our communications to the public. I don't want to have a Board of Selectmen workshop to help, not to help, but because the Board of Health is, in what you've indicated, it needs to better communicate the COVID-19 crisis, which we're all very concerned about, of course. So I'm just a little concerned about calling a workshop, having an agenda item, unless Dr. Rhodes would like to do that, and then request it through Jay, and we'll get an output on the agenda, or through me, and we can definitely work
that's good.
together.
Okay, I'll work that issue with Jay.
Right, have them start with Jay and myself.
I'll work the issue with, before we put it on the workshop.
Well, all glad to help.
Yeah, and there's, and one reason I bring it up to the select board is because it's got an economic development arm to it. If Adams becomes a place where businesses say, we just get blindsided all the time, this is not a good place to do business, that's not gonna reflect good on, it's not gonna be good for the town's economy. We're not there yet, but I'm saying that's why this process is so important, that we have really good proactive relationships and there's no surprises. And I will take this up with Jay and Dr.
I
Rhodes.
appreciate that, because the Board of Selectmen has worked well with our business community,
Yeah.
and we continue to work well
That's right.
with the business community.
And the Board of Health doesn't have that that institutional knowledge that we do.
Glad to help if they reach out to us, glad to help.
We have this board giving me direction, and therefore direction to my staff. We have worked very hard to ensure that our permitting process, our zoning process, anything that we put in front of an independent board, such as planning or zoning, we do our best. Doesn't always work out, sometimes just the chips don't fall for a particular business.
Right.
But I'd like to think that we've done our best to erode that mantra pretty well down to the point where it almost doesn't exist anymore, that's anti-business. Having been a former chairman of the Board of Health, it's a difficult tug of war between protecting public safety, public health, and the intrinsic desire of a business to be laissez-faire, have government, hands off. I don't necessarily think it's a bad approach. I made the same observation you did today, that when the board was able to clearly articulate what their concerns were, the business owner, who's, an intelligent person, was able to see, okay, now I understand what your goal is, and now I understand what you're asking me to do. I have found, town council and I have worked very hard to try to ensure that the written documents coming from that board comply with state law, they're defendable if need to be, and they can spell out exactly what's being asked of a business. We're getting there, but we're not there yet. So perhaps a workshop might be helpful.
You guys can work together.
I will work with Jay on this.
We'll
But to summarize, what I want to do is raise the bar, because a lot of the conversation today in the meeting with Ed and Dr. Rhodes was about enforcement. Penalize, if you have a mandate, there has to be a penalty behind it. But we know from the social sciences that the best form of compliance is voluntary compliance. Okay? How do you get voluntary compliance? You get everybody on the same side of the table. That's the process I want to see.
Right.
So that the business say, of course we're going to take these practices. It's in our best interest too. And so they're going to like we don't have a mandate. The people drive on the right side of the road on a 2-lane highway, not because there's a mandate, but because it's in the best interest of everybody. It's voluntary compliance. Same thing. That I would like to have people voluntarily comply, and that requires public relations, that requires communication, that requires building relationships. That's where I'm coming from.
Okay, you
Yeah,
guys work together?
If I may
Sure,
say,
go ahead.
I'd have to say, early on in the COVID crisis, we were updated very well with numbers and what has what was going on. But this time around, it's really been a target that's going all over the place. I know the cases are up, and that brings some fear to me. It's being seen in our school systems, and the numbers, each time I see them, they tend to be going up. So it's a moving target, and it's very hard now with things changing rapidly, very quickly. Because of it was a novel virus, scientists and those who are studying it are finding, different things that need to be done at different times. So I would hope that, Jay, you continue to update us of what's going on here in Adams. You did a very good job at the beginning, and I hope you continue to do so as the numbers continue to go up.
Yeah, I can try. I think that the distinction, and I'm happy to do it, the distinction I think this time around, just so everybody knows, is early on, it really consumed the majority of my work. It was a public health crisis. It was new. The Public Board of Health could not meet. No board could meet, so it relied on staff to do that. So that's why I was in it. At some point, we have to let the normal, governmental structure take place. So right now, Dr. Rhodes and that board, as his presentation today, are probably the three that have it here right off the top of the head. I glance at it periodically. I do talk to him periodically. I don't necessarily think Adams is any worse shape than any other community. If you look at the 3 or 4 top population centers, our numbers are tracking proportionally consistent, with that. But it might also be helpful to have Dr. Rhodes, come in, or Mark, have him come in and actually present. Because as I was saturated with those numbers last year, they're now following that. And in fact, I learned today, I didn't know this, but the tracking was done by the state. So if someone called up and said, we have an employee who tested positive, that would be given to the public health nurse would ship it on to the state. That burden is now going to revert to now the municipality. The CARES Act has expired. We don't have that funding. Again, it's another one of those things that's pushed off on a small community that the bench isn't deep for that game. So, but yes, if things get way out of whack, you'll hear from me, and then it might be good to have Dr. Rhodes present, particularly televised.
Excuse me, since Howard, you attended the meeting, were there any numbers given out?
Yeah, Adams is spiked above the county average. We're at 47, the county's at like 30-something new cases.
In household cases.
Right.
And from what Dr. Hoyt was indicating tonight, most of the epidemiology is showing that kids are coming home, and then unvaccinated parents are receiving it. So the clusters in Adams are in the households, and almost, was it 90% of those cases are unvaccinated individuals.
Right.
So the vaccine is still working. The public health message is get vaccinated, get your booster. None of that science has changed at all. When in doubt, wear a mask, wash your hands. None of that public health message that you heard so much from last year has changed at all. It is still the same. It's just a matter of convincing people that that's the best and safest course for them.
Yeah, there's always been a sense of complacency on people's beliefs, and that's an individual's belief, but it's showing that it's not working, that people are just, being cavalier. And that's all I'd like to say.
Thank you. And Howard, I did see the numbers from the Board of Health's agenda. Yeah, I think it would also be possibly a good idea if you could report. It's all data, it's all fact.
Right.
If you could take from the meeting and bring forward the numbers for the board, that would definitely be helpful for us and educate us as a liaison to that board.
And that state website's greatly improved. When I used to give my weekly reports, I used to have to mill down, but then the state reporting system actually has gotten a little easier to use.
Okay, anything else, Howard?
That'll do it.
Okay.
Busy.
Rick?
Nothing.
Joe?
I have nothing.
I have an MPO meeting next week, and the president has signed the infrastructure bill. So I'm going to ask at that meeting, but also, Jay, as soon as you hear what the impact will be on our community,
We'll find out.
you'll let us know.
We'll find out. I can tell you just quickly so far, there might be some more money available in the state trust for the wastewater treatment plant. This is coming up on 12 hours here, so my brain's mush, but the state water resources fund that we use to fund it, there might be some money there. That's all I've heard so far. We'll keep monitoring it. We'll put Crystal on it. She tracks that stuff down.
Nice.
Okay, look forward to that. If I hear anything, I'll bring that
Thank you,
forward.
please.
So definitely, hopefully it's for bridges, but hopefully for roads too. We could use it.
Also, there's money there for broadband, and
Right.
that's something that, as you had mentioned, people working out of their homes, you need good broadband to do your work.
Right, to track people here. In lead piping, I don't know if we have any records, if we have any of that left in the community or not, but
I would think not. Superintendent Barrett, who participated this morning and was a wealth of information, I would think not. I would think that we've rooted those out.
I would think so. Okay.
But they did find a
The wood ones, the wood ones,
on
yeah,
Commercial Street.
yeah. That was neat. That was really neat.
Yeah, let's see, okay. That's it for subcommittee liaison reports, announcements, and good of the order. Joe?
All I'd like to do is, as Attorney St. John mentioned, I'd like to wish everyone in the community and their loved ones a very happy Thanksgiving. And it's a time when families get together, and make sure you tell the people that you love them. And happy Thanksgiving to everyone.
Thank you. Rick?
Nothing.
Howard?
Yes, I'd like to wish everyone a happy holiday season, and report that my first few months of being a selectman has been a joy. And
It's great to hear.
Still in the honeymoon phase.
I'm still in the honeymoon phase.
Well, we're glad to have you, Howard.
Thank you.
Okay, the board does have an executive session. We will have the executive session, and when we come out of executive session, the only action by this board will be to vote to adjourn. Could I have a motion to go into executive session?
I'll make a motion to board enter executive session for purpose number 6, to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property if the chair declares that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the public body.
Could you include the streets, please?
For,
Okay,
we're only doing one, right?
Yeah, you can table 8 Weber, 15 to 17 Elm. The only live one you'll take action on tonight is 69 Park.
okay, 69 Park Street. Okay, we have a motion from Rick. Do we have a second?
I second it.
Second by Howard. This is a roll call vote. Joe?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
John's yes, and Howard?
Yes.